beat the video game, and it's like your life's obsession. And when you beat it, what now? Now you want a new video game.
But I think that's good because I think it's important that we know. I had a really good conversation with my friend Ben um, about Sisyphus. Pushing the rock up the hill and then falling back down. And I guess the philosopher Camus wrote a book about like Sisyphus, about how Sisyphus is actually really happy in his pursuit. And it comes back to that kind of like, I'm a big Nietzsche fan in this idea of amor fati, of love your fate, of like, this is your fate, this is the journey you're on. You can despise it, you can fight against it, or you can learn to love it, and live a life that you would be happy to relive with all the pain and all the difficulties. And I think that's what I think about constantly. And I think about that with my clients. Like, you're going to experience pain, you're going to experience difficulty, you're going to experience hardship, you're going to experience obstacles. You can be miserable about that, or you can learn to love the experience that you've gained from that. And I just prefer to live in the latter.
I'm right there with you. And again, one of my favorite things, from my faith is, consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials and tribulations of many kinds, because then you will gain wisdom and be lacking nothing. And I think that's just
perfect.
Perfect. You're not starting over. You're starting with experience. Like, let's just keep going.
And so I think that's a really important thing you bring up, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, I screwed up on my diet and like I'm starting back at zero. I'm like,
no, you're not.
You've done all these things, like it's fine. Like you've got now new knowledge, you've got new wisdom. To your point,
that's it. It's like you gain knowledge. Like, that's how you level up. Like, to go back to the video game. Like, okay, but you know how to get that far. Now use what you learned and then keep going. And that's how you level up. And you hear it so many times. And again, let's go back to the vacation thing. Like, just because there was a wreck on I-26 and it takes you a little bit longer, you get stuck in traffic. It's not like you magically teleported home and had to start the whole trip over. It just took longer than you thought. And sometimes there are intentional pit stops, right? Like, you're just like, you know what? I'm tired of this diet. I'm tired of going to the gym for a little bit. You pull off the side of the road and go to a dadgum apple stand and just enjoy picking apples for a little bit.
I mean, we intentionally stopped at Buc-ee's because we thought our friend had a baby, and we thought it'd be hilarious to get her a onesie and like it was horrifying. It was a big travel day. It was during Christmas, and but at the same time, it was like, because I wasn't in a hurry, and I was like, dude, we're just doing this. This is a terrible idea, but like it'll be funny to give her this Buc-ee's onesie. And it was like fine, right? Like, but if I was in a rush and if I was trying to get to my location and that's all I was focused on, and I had stopped at that detour and it slowed me down, it would have ruined my trip. But it was actually, it didn't matter, right? Like, I was still going to get to where I was going, and it was still going to happen. It might not have happened on the same timeline, but now I get to arrive with a little bit something extra, which actually is a gift. And we talk about community, right? So yeah, it's like you're still going to get there.
You're still going to get there. And you think about it when you're kids or when you're impatient to get somewhere. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It takes forever. But when you're just like, hey, look, an apple stand. I'll stop there. I don't know why I'm infatuated with apple stands right now. But and then you're like, oh, cool, like a little winery. Let me pull over there. And even though it took you longer to actually get there, the trip probably didn't feel as long. And that may have ended up being the best part anyway. Back to your point.
Yeah. I mean, there's always new pit stops. And
you got to pee sometime.
That's terrible. I've got like, but speaking of like little kids, though, it's like part of that's getting older too, right? Like, think about being a little kid. Like, that road trip is a significant part of your life, right? When you're older, all of a sudden, I mean, years go by now, and I'm like, geez, wait, like, I was talking to a client, and we started working together. We had stopped working together. We started working together like 3 years ago or so. To me, it seems like we started together 6 months ago and just took a break. Like, but no. And as you get older, it's just like, oh wow, time's passing, and time's gonna pass.
I mean,
regardless.
I figure we connected during like via Instagram during like right around COVID, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's like everybody was trapped in their house, like, hey, this guy's got cool stuff. What's happening? And it's like, here we are. It's been like 2.5, 3 years. It's just, how did that happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I mean, I think about just the start of. I mean, Dean and I just did a presentation. My friend Dean Guido just did a presentation for Mike T. Nelson's upcoming
You talk
summit.
about the Walkmore
Yeah,
King.
yeah. Walkmore King is his Instagram. But we had started like working on these presentations for Costa Rica back in 2019, and I was kind of 6 months into building my model that is currently built now. And so that's 5 years in. And like I've got probably more five. I'm kind of blowing everything up now as we speak, as much as I can. And when I like to take whatever I've built and love, I try to destroy it and prove how wrong it is so that I can rebuild. Um, but it'll be another 5 years till that's kind of complete, and then it'll probably be another 10 years until I really nail it down. But I think about like where I expect, like I want to see where this project I've been working on is at 15 years from now, because I honestly think it's going to take that long to mature to the point of where I think it's going to. And by that point, it won't look anything like it does now. But at each 5 years, I feel like I get a growth point where it's like I could do it. But if you had asked me when I was 20, 5 years from now, my brain would have exploded because I would have been like, oh, my life's pretty much over. I'll be 25. Like what? Now I'm like, when I'm 60, I think I'll really have my model together and really be able to help people. Like I think then I'll be really good. But of course, then I'll be like, oh no, I don't know anything. I'll have to start over. So
That really is.
that's it.
I was talking to a kid today. He came to me at the gym and he's like, "Hey man, I really want to pick your brain. I was listening to you work with these old people, these young people, because I work with people still in person. There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And just I like both, and they're both valuable in their own way. And there's so many. But he was asking me stuff. He's like, "What are you an expert in?" And I was like, "People." And he's like, "But like with fitness," I was like, "Dude, every day I look down and start reading, listening, and I go, I'm a dadgum window licker. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've been at this 16 years, and I swear I knew more at 27."
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty lucky to have a lot of really, really smart friends. And it's nice because I don't have to be really good at anything because I can send someone to
I'm like, you know
them.
what? Somebody will ask something. I'm like, you know what? That's a great question. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I mean,
I just tag. I have like interesting conversations. So like I always, but it's like I get input from different people, and it's again, I don't take a ton of what I learn from fitness. Like it's mostly outside of that, and people within fitness, like the people that I work a lot around. Again, Mike T. Nelson, someone I would come back to. He's just so smart. Ben House, even though he's a nutritionist, he brings in wisdom from all over the place. Um,
he's
yeah,
ridiculously smart.
Tommy Wood, who's a medical doctor and a neuroscientist, is a friend of mine, also absolute genius, but he works kind of fitness adjacent. But these people, they draw so much from outside, and really in psychology, my mentor Lisa Lewis, obviously she's been the biggest influence on me. But that's where I look to. I look to like psychology, behavior, philosophy is big because I think philosophy is just psychology and in a different through a different lens. But yeah, I think neuroscience lends so much to like what's going on in the brain and why it's happening. So I think like that's like to me like rather than trying to be an expert in one thing, can I draw in a lot from other areas that would benefit? I mean, restaurants. I listened to like David Chang's podcast during COVID to talk to people about what they could do with their businesses because restaurants got decimated, and the guy who runs a bunch of restaurants is probably a good person to listen to on how to like manage through your business being beat up.
I think it's brilliant. It's one of my clients owns a lot of restaurants, and they realized something wasn't working, and they went in and hired a manager from Verizon Wireless to manage a restaurant,
Yeah, right.
and it worked
Totally
out
switch it up.
brilliantly, brilliant. So he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think that could be genius, or it could just go very badly, but it's already going very badly, so go for it." You know what I mean? So, well, I mean, and it went
I
well.
mean, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of like whatever you call it, but like rock bottom, right? There's like you can afford to make mistakes because it's not going to cost you anything. And that's what I say to clients all
And the same
the
with
time.
this. Back to the like to it's it is pulling in all those people. Psychologists are some of my favorite. Neuroscientists are some of my favorite. In the way that I coach my pastor, stuff like that. Like because it is again And I love philosophy. I love Stoic philosophers. Marcus Aurelius, like I could read him all day.
Yeah, like I
What
listen, like I pull a lot from religious leaders. I like a lot of one of my best friends at jiu-jitsu is he's very into the apologetic stuff, and he'll send me stuff all the time. A lot of rabbis I'll read stuff from because I think spiritual leaders also are coming to it from a very similar. It's a lot of behavioral stuff, right? So it's and you think about historically, they were often played the role of what now a psychologist might play. You know, help people deal with interpersonal relationships there. So I think like those kind of people who work with people um, are always going to be a good, valuable resource.
100%. I know that one of my favorite preachers does Therapy Thursday, and right now he just finished this series, and so did mine on habits, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this, we could go all day, but he said, y'all out here blaming the devil for your bad habits. He's like, he ain't got nothing to do with you. You got your own bad habits. He doesn't need to worry about you. Like that, no. But it is cool to pull from all those different things instead of just focusing on, well, this is what, you know, the biochemist said, or this is what this person said, and this is what's optimal in the laboratory. But what's optimal is what's going to work for you, what's going to move you forward, get you toward that identity, and help you break free of those things that no longer serve you.
Yeah, and like and understand it. I tell people all the time is like I want to break a bad habit. Like you can't. And we want to talk about neuroscience. You can't break a bad habit. It is a myelinated cord around a part of your brain, and what you can hope to do is build a habit that you would prefer that's stronger. Because people are like, oh, I fell back into bad habits. Like, yeah, those things are imprinted in your brain; they're never going away. And that's one of the things about habit science is like it's kind of cool, but people also ignore is they're like, oh, you're just going to break this habit. Like, you can't do it. You got to build
That
different
takes
habits.
us back to the beginning. You replaced it. Like it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I replaced these things with this thing, and then we replaced it with this thing, and then we put layers and levels. And it's like James Clear talks about, you fall to the level of your systems. You need to set those things up. So